My first recollection of powwow dancing was as a 6-year-old girl. I remember I wore a red tea dress, and the powwow was in Santee, Nebraska. Santee is an Indian reservation that is located 40 minutes from my hometown of Yankton, South Dakota. I remember my mom and my relatives were there sitting along the powwow sidelines watching everybody dance and having a good time. My relatives encouraged me to go out there and begin dancing. I did a traditional dance, which is a slower pace, 2-step dance going forward around the arena. I remember watching the other dancers so that I could learn how to dance myself. I'm 11 years old now, and I'm sitting in my bedroom listening to a boombox with a broken cassette door. I'm working on making my fancy shawl dance regalia, which was one of my most treasured possessions at this age. We didn't have a lot of money back then, so whenever I could babysit to earn money for craft supplies, I would do that. I remember we were chronically poor at this point in my life, and the house was quiet and lonely. My father was in and out of my life, but mostly out. I'd always hoped that he would come back into my life, but he never did. I had 4 older siblings and 2 younger siblings who were also home, but most of the times they were out at boarding school or with their friends, which only contributed to my feelings of isolation and loneliness. I would see what alcohol did to people and how it would make them social and laugh and appear to have a good time. So finally, I decided that I wanted to try it. I convinced an older elderly man who was a friend of my grandmother's to buy me a 6-pack of Budweiser. I lied and told him that it was for my mother. I remember watching him come out of the store with a brown paper bag that I thought was the answer to the depression that I was feeling. Next, I'm walking to my school ground to meet up with my friends carrying the brown paper bag. I walk over to the swings and I ask my friends if they would like a drink with me. They say no and they start to walk away. So I pop open a can of beer and I take a drink of it. It's warm, bitter, and gross, so I quickly set it down and I run off to catch up with my friends. My next experiments into my journey of alcoholism would include going to parties. It was at one of these parties where at the age of 13, I tried pot. After trying pot, everything made me laugh and was funny, and I instantly fell in love with that feeling. My last dance performance was at the Yankton High School. It was during their homecoming celebration, and me, one of my childhood best friends, and her grandmother were performing. I remember thinking that one day I would walk down those high school hallways as I would transition there and eventually graduate from there, but that wasn't to be. I remember after we performed the dance, I walked down the hallway for one last time. Once outside, the sun was shining and a carload of friends were waiting there to pick me up for a weekend of partying. We were relocating to Nebraska, and I had made friends with a group of people who were older than me and who liked to drink and party. It felt good to finally fit in, and the circle of friends that I was keeping were all acting out, and we enjoyed that at that time. At age 15, I'm in 8th grade and pregnant with a much older man's child. I didn't have any chance of passing to the 9th grade, so after I had my child, I just decided to drop out of school. By age 17, I had survived a meth overdose and had a second child. I had dreams of making it work with this man, so I moved in with him and thought that we would finally have our own happy little family. But that dream was fleeting, as were my visits to the powwow. Due to this heartache, I plunged into the abyss of addiction even further. I started doing meth harder than I'd ever done it because it was the easiest thing for me to do. It relieved all the pain that I had, and soon I signed over guardianship of my children to my mother. I had to watch her parent my kids with a softness in her that I'd never seen for myself, so that was difficult for me. My addiction would eventually catch up with me, and I would be federally indicted for a drug charge. I was sentenced to 60 months in Waseca, Minnesota, and while I was there, after about a year of sitting in prison, I decided that I did not want my time away to be in vain. One day, the prison had a talent show, and I decided to get up there and do a powwow dance without my regalia. As I was dancing, I thought to myself, someday I will dance again, and that's the day that my vision was born. In 2012, I was released, and I relapsed after about 4 years of sobriety. I had consequences to pay, and on the day that I got out of jail, it was the eve of my son's 15th birthday. I walked into his birthday party at my sister's house, and he looked at me with a sad disappointment that was all too familiar to me. It was a look that I once had for my mother as a child. Now I am 32, and I'm dancing in the powwow. Only this time I am not alone. I have a 2-year-old daughter who is dancing behind me. We are both wearing the same jingle dresses. I have a relationship with my children today that no drug or drink could ever compare to. The jingle dress dance is a dance of healing, and that's what I try to do for myself and others today.